Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
2, 1. Vinyl Tap.
Vinyl Tap.
I'm
I'm
Jason.
Habibi.
We just listened to 3 albums, which the theme is a little not as thematic as the last couple. They're all albums that we each like or love or something along those lines, and think that the other two had never heard before.
Yes,
So,
that is what
straight
we did.
away, who won? Who lost?
Just in terms
let's-
of how good the albums were, or
Oh, both. So have you guys... I think I went first. So, had you either of you heard Walk Among Us?
Jason?
No, I had heard songs from the album, but I had not
Yeah.
heard the album in its entirety.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd heard anything from it. I've never listened to it. So congratulations.
Hey!
Yes, you passed the test.
Let's keep going along those lines. Jason,
Yes,
Seek a Lover Keeper.
yes.
Beebs, have you listened to Seek a Lover Keeper before?
No.
Well,
I have not.
There you go, Jason. And now, so here's the interesting thing, is that Jason knows that I've heard some of these songs at least, because he showed them to me. But what he doesn't know is that after that, I went off and listened to the whole album.
Damn it, you did?
Ooh.
So you
So
you
it looks
failed
like
the
Jason
test.
is being eliminated.
Yeah,
Yeah, I won't be
You will
here
not
next
be
month.
invited
Bye-bye.
back to the Big Brother house.
Damn it. So I knew that I'd shown you some, and I kind of assumed that that was it, that you hadn't gone and listened to it. That's a shame.
You underestimated my initiative.
You can understand why.
I really can. And Battleborn, had either of you heard this Killers album before?
No.
No.
All right. Right, I think this is the first time that we've ever had someone fail to meet the criteria of a theme.
You're welcome.
We finally
So-
did it.
Next month, we won't have Jason joining us. This is how it works. If you get the theme wrong, you are just eliminated from Vinyl Tap.
We have to find a new host.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I don't know. We haven't discussed what happens if you don't meet the theme. I guess this is just a failed month for me. We'll put it on the chalkboard and, I don't know, see who has the most fails at some point in time.
We'll sort out an appropriate punishment at some point.
Yeah. The Killers one was interesting because it's sort of a pretty well-known band. So I'm surprised that neither of us, Jason, had kind of heard it before. And I thought it was
think-
quite sort of, it was very sneaky to
Yeah,
pull out
I
a
don't know.
I
well-known
really
band.
wanted to go a
and-
little risky because, like, I knew that you had heard Hot Fuss Beebs, and I knew that Jason hadn't. So I wanted to like go in the same kind of direction, but like, you know, an album that I didn't know that you'd heard, because I'd say a lot of people would have heard like one song of this album, probably Miss Atomic Bomb or Runaways. Those are the 2 big songs off it. But not many people. Well, it's kind of like 2012, that time when albums started to like, who gives a crap anymore, right? And it's just like, let's listen to songs that we like instead of the entire album. So I think it kind of represents that shift.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I
I would argue that started to happen a lot earlier.
How
than that.
earlier?
With Napster, I'd say that's when that started to really transition. And I'm not saying
You
it happened
reckon?
overnight. Yeah, because with Napster you could just download the song you wanted. You
Did
didn't need
everyone
to
Yeah,
have
but
download
that
the
was
song.
like...
Did everyone use that?
Yeah, Napster was huge. Why do you think they got sued? If they weren't like as big as
Because
what
it was
they were,
illegal?
nah. If it wasn't as big as what it was, there's no way that it would have got shut down in the way that it did.
Yeah, but think about albums that were released, though, during that time.
During the late night. Okay, so what? Let me posit this question: since like Napster, what has been something that has been like a complete album that people have gone on about in the way that, say, like Dark Side of the Moon is gone on about.
People went on about the new Kanye one.
Yeah, that was my thought as well.
I mean, Hot
But I
Fuss
still-
came out during that time.
What did?
Hot Fuss, which
Yeah.
I guess you haven't heard, but everyone else on the planet has.
Oh, I know it's their most famous album, and I've heard a bunch of stuff from it. I just haven't listened to the whole album.
Black Holes and Revolutions was released in
Yeah, 2006.
Again, though,
2006.
it's still just like not the.
Bunch of Radiohead albums.
It's still just not the same level. As much as I love those bands, and I wish that we could.
Yeah,
say
I
that
guess
they
so,
were,
maybe.
But it's just not quite the same because that shift had already started.
Taylor Swift, 22.
As
Well,
a
maybe it's
complete
not
album,
a
though,
maybe it's not
Yeah.
a question of maybe it's not a question of albums becoming less important. It's just because the music industry doesn't have a stranglehold anymore. Music
Yeah.
distribution was kind of a little more freeform.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like there wasn't so much importance on a single album because the industry said so.
Yeah,
It
like
was
consumers
just,
have the choice now to listen to whatever format they want.
That's my point. That shift of their choice is from the 90s.
right.
That's
But
literally
that
what
doesn't
I'm
make
saying.
albums less. That doesn't make albums less significant.
That's not what we're arguing about,
No,
though.
that's not what we're arguing about,
Yeah.
though.
Okay, well,
Anyway,
Anyway, I also, obviously having failed this, wanted to try and pick something that was risky. I didn't just want to play it safe and go and find something super left field
it's
that I know
really
I listen
risky to show us an album that you've shown me previously.
To. Yeah, I was like, I wonder if I can sneak this one through, and I apparently couldn't.
yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I was not expecting after I showed you those few songs for you to have gone and listened to the album.
Well, I liked the sound.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. And Deebs?
Did it?
No, you
Oh
go.
yeah, I picked mine because I kind of pinned that Tim probably hadn't heard it, but I thought that you may have, Jason.
I was going to say, I had written down that I thought it was a risky choice because I know you've definitely shown me their songs and I know who the Misfits are. But
Yeah, they're a bit of a popular band, and I kind of figured that you hadn't listened to it because it's one of those things where you know the name and you probably know a few of the songs, but it's very rare for people to go and actually sit down and listen to somebody's first or second albums.
I mean, but if anyone, it'd be one of us, right?
Right.
So yeah, no,
So-
you gambled well.
Instead of picking like really risky things, we all steered into the skid and went a bit risky. So that's good.
Yeah, so I think that's nice. Something that I noticed across all three albums that we haven't really spoken about is they were all very much albums that were one thing consistently across the album. Like it wasn't like an artist that had a bit of a range or a style. Like they all had a very strong, consistent theme. Like punk was very punk and in your face the whole time. Seeker Lover Keeper had the very, mellow sound with a lot of like simple harmony, simple like chordal harmony, but then nice vocal harmonies. And then the Killers had like steered into that Americana sound for
Yeah.
the whole album. Like there wasn't a lot of variety across each individual album, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we all picked something that was very much one thing the whole way through.
Right. The thematically whole as albums, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm wondering if that then leans into the second part of the theme of obviously if other people hadn't heard it, but if like why do you like this album so much, Beebs? Like why do you like Misfits?
There's a few things. I think it comes back to sort of some main cornerstones of music that I'm enjoying particularly at the moment, which is sort of it's a bit raw in terms of recording and all that sort of stuff, but it has a lot of I don't know, it's very energetic and just exciting, and unrelenting. And it's something, I guess, it's I don't know, it's kind of like it would be the equivalent of I don't know, in today's music I can't think of any good comparisons other than like Berlin nightclubs. Like, you don't kind of get that unrelenting energy anymore.
You don't even think from like modern day punk bands?
Yeah. It's sort of like, there are some bands, but they're definitely not as big or as popular.
No, but things have like a cycle of popularity. Like rock is not as big as what it was,
Yeah,
30, 40
absolutely.
years ago.
Yeah, and I just sort of I quite like that. In some ways, that rough kind of recording quality, the sort of, you're excused if it's a bit out of tune and there are some mistakes and the mixing isn't 100%. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, I don't know, it's a little kind of jazzy in some ways, or jazz-like. There's not that kind of emphasis on perfect execution and perfect production.
I mean, that depends on what sort of jazz you're talking about then, doesn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah, no, exactly right. Yeah, I don't know. Those are just some, and I feel like this album in particular really just it captures that, and it doesn't vary it. It's just, it is what it is. Like, it's a 35-ish minute package of just raw energy. What you get in the first song is what you get in the last song. Enjoy.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I pegged as the reasons for you picking it, for you liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It's very much what I had. Maybe not in not so as many words as what you've said it, but that's basically what I thought. Tim?
What about Tim?
Why do you like the Killers album?
Why do you think?
I actually don't have a solid grasp on this one. Like, I know you like the Killers, so it's not surprising that you picked a Killers album.
Right.
But I would have thought, like what we spoke about last episode, the strengths of the Killers having the how am I trying to say it? Like, where it wasn't emphasizing Brandon Flowers' voice all the time, and there was a bit more dynamic and change, and when they had that bit more of the Britpop sound, is what I would have assumed was your draw cards to them.
It is.
So
I generally prefer the earlier albums with that kind of sound to them. But I still like this album, and the reason is, I guess the main reason would be it came out in 2012. I was 16 years old. That's a very impressionable time in a young man's life, obviously. So this new album came out, and it was filled with all these songs that are just kind of like lyrically brimming with pretty raw emotion, about like identity and love. A lot of them are. So I was going through some stuff. And this album related to me, and it's just stuck with me ever since, So there's no strong musical reason I think that this album gets me. Honestly, sure, it's decently composed, but in terms of production, it's not that standout. It's pretty lackluster in some places.
Yeah.
But that's probably just because of what it promises and what it could have been.
The potential it didn't quite reach.
Yeah, so it's definitely more of an emotional relationship that I have with it, which is uncommon for me. Usually I'm like, oh yes, I like this album because it has chords that do silly things, and I like that. But no, this album doesn't do that. It just got me at a certain time.
Cool. That's nice.
Do you think it has informed much of your current musical taste, and also the stuff that you compose and play?
I'd be surprised if it hadn't, because everything that the amount of times I've listened to this album, it's impossible that it hasn't influenced me, Yeah.
Hmm.
I'll have to think about in what ways though.
Jason?
Mine's somewhat
Actually,
like Tim's,
well,
but also different. Okay, what do you think? If that's what you're going to say,
yeah, I'll jump in. I was actually surprised because this didn't have the hallmark things that I would sort of expect from you. Like it was pretty sort of textually homogenous the whole way through. It had the nice, like it had really nice melodies and stuff, and nice kind of vocal tones, but I don't think I quite realized maybe that how much that stands out to you.
um, so it's kind of similar to Tim's, but kind of not. In I was exposed to this through a friend in high school, and they were basically like, "Hey, come to this concert. There's like a spare ticket, whatever." And it was Seek a Lover Keeper, but in like a church cathedral, kind of unplugged as well. So just all the, and I'd not really heard them before. I listened to maybe one or two songs before I went, and um, it was just so pretty and nice, and I hadn't really had an experience like that. And also, I think it was the first time that I kind of really had vocal harmonies to that level, kind of like on show, where they were like noticeable for me. And I was kind of like, oh my god, that's such a cool thing. Like, why do I not know about this already?
Yeah.
And just, I think it's that, because that was the album that they were playing when they did that kind of like little tour. And I, yeah, just kind of really like the album from that experience. And it's not something I put on a lot, and it's not something I would sit down and actively listen to, but there's definitely times where it's nice to have it on in the background, because you can kind of drift in and out with it because it's so nice and pretty. And like, as I've gotten older as well, I also really appreciate the fact that it's like three Australian artists coming together to make something, because I really love collaboration, and also like would like to be very supportive of Australian artists as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know, just like I had that initial experience with it, that I really enjoyed it, and then I've just kind of appreciated it more as I've like grown up a bit more as well. So again, it's not necessarily anything musical that I'm like, this is amazing, I just love this so much because of this one particular musical element, but it's the context around it, which probably sounds more like me.
I just figured that you were, hot for vocal harmonies, because I know that you are.
Oh yeah, I wish I was better at them. I wish I was so much better at them. They're so cool. And then, yeah, so I mean, actually, now that you've phrased it like that, I'm actually not that surprised you went and listened to this album afterwards, Tim.
You picked it.
I did pick it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. So, a successful overall theme, but a fail on my behalf is
Letting down the
what we've
team.
ended up
You've
with.
got Gulag now.
But I do really enjoy that we all tried to pick something a bit more risky. It wasn't like I'm gonna
pick
option.
like the 13th Dream Theater album.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pick this Yes album from 1973 that none of us will have heard.
I think I do find that it's interesting. They're so like homogenous through the whole album that like that each album just had its one sort of theme. And I wonder if that kind of has accidentally come about because we were trying to, pick a theme subconsciously, and so
I kind of put it more down to, oh, here's this one element or something that I really like that probably hasn't been on the other two's radar. So
yeah,
I'm just gonna.
Well, but yeah, that doesn't really speak true for me though, because for you guys, you absolutely know that, the elements that I wanted to pick were just, you already know that about me.
Yeah, but it's not like we did any research for this and we're like, I'm going to listen to all the albums I think you're going to choose.
No.
So
That would have been brutal.
that would have been. It was just like, I'm going to go through all the songs that Habibi's recommended and just listen to those albums.
I'm gonna break into Jason's Spotify and go through the albums that he's favorited.
Oh, good luck
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
There are way too many. Does anyone else have any like summary thoughts on this or issues with how we've gone about this or things we think we could have done better or chosen better?
You could have picked an album that actually passed the criteria.
That would have been
We
great,
could have done
Jason.
better.
Yeah.
Again, we'll tally it up. We'll figure out what happens from there.
I don't know. No, I have no closing summary thoughts. There were I might listen to Seek a Lover Keeper a few songs, and I might listen to a few Battleborn songs, but I'm probably not going to listen to those albums again.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I can't say that I'm going to listen to those two as albums. And in all honesty, I don't generally listen to Seek a Lover Keeper as a complete album either. So I can't say that any of these I'll go start to end.
So,
Yeah,
Tim?
I think samesies for me. Yeah. I don't
Well,
think
there's
you
another
haven't
loss.
changed me, man. I'm still the same.
so it's another loss for albums and another win for Napstar.
Click above to find out what else we've talked about in this theme.
Click above to see other things